Here we go. It's 10:31. Sherry and Kate ran over by a minute. That's okay, though. That was a top 10 series as well. So back-to-back top 10 series today. Nick and I'll be covering the top 10 attributes of our favorite things, maybe things you didn't know about DocXtools Companion.
Mm-hmm.
Before we kick things off, it's good to be back. I think Nick and I have been doing other things, or we've had other people on the show. Clearly Nick's ready to go. He's fresh shaved today. I
gotta look fresh, right?
Hat and some I don't know, 5 o'clock, whatever I got going on here. Before we jump into the top 10 features, Nick, let's talk about DocXtools Companion, the why of DocXtools Companion real quick, and I can cover that, and then maybe we go into some of the new features.
Sure.
So we originally built DocXtools Companion. It's been a couple years now. It was really aimed at, we saw more and more millennials coming into the marketplace wanting to fix their own documents, but their proficiency in Microsoft Word wasn't where the word processing teams was. So we needed to give them simple solutions to fix complex problems. So we had these single button click fixes for numbering table of contents in DocID. Those worked well. We had good adoption rates on that, but really to continue the growth and to kind of fit the needs of both US and international firms and those user bases, we needed to add some guided capabilities. And really what Guided did was just break the solution down into 2 steps: finding problems and then fixing problems. So we've been working on this guided journey. We did guided numbering in Q4 of last year. We did guided cross-referencing in Q1, and then guided TOC in Q2. So we're at full guided mode now. So if you want to go what we'll call classic, the fire and forget solution, or the guided capabilities, where you can first see the problems and then fix the problems, those who might be a little bit more risk averse, we've got both. We've got both options. So we want to, I guess the other thing I'll say on that is the types of issues we see coming into documents. It's the tail is end of time, as long as old as time. It's the same types of issues. Nick and I have been with some form of Litera for 13 years. We still see the same. Yeah, a long time. It's the document issues are the same, but what we do see is an evolution in the user base. And so you need to arm the user with the right set of tools. I think more and more people can't just walk out their door to their secretarial pool and say, can you help me with this document? So they are looking. We do see a significant uptick in DocXtools Companion usage as a result of not only fundamentally shifts in who our core user base is and their demographic, but also the situation that is COVID. So with that, we'll kind of kick things off for the top 10 series today. That's kind of the why we built DocXtools Companion, the business problems it's helping to solve. And then we'll cover some things today that not everybody might not be aware of. It is a simple to use solution, but we do think it has a ton of power for really the enterprise firm user, all users at the firm.
Yeah, so man, I'll say, like, I often get the question when talking with customers, who should be using this tool? Should we just put it on these desktops? Should we put it on those user desktops? As you said, I think this thing was designed in a way that anyone could and should maybe be using it. I don't like when you start to like stipulate, oh, this software is only for this type of user or this personality or this individual or this group. It's kind of limiting. And I know you are always one who just wants to take the new toys and put it through its paces and break it and mess with stuff. And if you don't give people the ability to kind of learn and click on things and work with stuff like that, you're going to like limit them in what their capabilities are. And so like, I always will tell people, I'm like, you can really like this particular software should be deployed on any user's desktop. Like it's fairly intuitive that you can work through some of this stuff and kind of see what the result is. And then you can undo it if you didn't intend to do that. This is great learning software to like help you build a better document, a more consistent document. So I will preface our spiel by saying that too. Like, don't limit like who's getting access to the software. I think this is
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me share my screen. I got my PowerPoint ready to roll. And we'll just dive in right at number 10. I feel so much more comfortable having you here this week. It was weird.
I wasn't here.
Although last week
I'm like that that blanket you sleep with every night. Is like
I know.
safety blanket.
I needed you. We haven't been together in a few weeks. Our schedules are just not synced up for this, so it's good to be back.
Good to be back.
All right. So coming in at number 10, I talk about like a top 10 feature in DocXtools Companion, just font fixing. It seems pretty straightforward, but again, giving people the means or the button to do that, because sometimes if you copy and paste from one document to another, things might not look consistent. And we know a lot of times people will use something like Format Painter to apply formatting, but that might be overkill. That might be doing a little bit too much. So this is specifically for font type and font size. You can help to conform things, and it will make things that much more succinct in your document. Ultimately, like the preference would be to use styles, and that's a whole other thing. See last week's discussion. But this is a good, quick way for users to get their document into a better state.
I think the where the font fixing stuff is like that whole cleanup menu. People kind of, it's a little bit further down the DocXtools Companion group, but all of that stuff is like so common that goes wrong first in documents. Like, let's be honest, we copy and paste from disparate sources, so the font type and font size starts to get a little wonky in the document. This you don't need to configure it. It just looks at the document and does what is best based on our algorithm. If it's 51% of the documents using Times New Roman, everything should be using Times New Roman, to oversimplify it. Same thing for font sizes, but it's smart enough to recognize the difference between headings and titles and body text.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, like, again, things come from disparate sources. Like, it's kind of like disjointed. You might have multiple authors working on a document. So that document might touch my desktop. It might hit your desktop. Our settings are a little bit different. Some of those things we just know that they're going to happen. This is just a way to hit the reset button, get things back to that level set, where we preach and promote consistency so much. That's what we strive for. It's just the way that these documents should be. All right, so if I move on, coming in at number 9, quotation mark cleanup. This is a big one, and Matt, we get questions about this all the time. And part of the reason why is because Microsoft Word has some bugginess with quotation marks, and it does some weird things. And especially if you got track changes on in documents, that can do some really weird things too. You might have settings that I just talked about this. My machine and your machine might be set up differently. So I'm using quotation marks in a certain way. You're using quotation marks in a different way. Now we have a document that looks like it's duct taped together with these weird like inconsistencies in quotation marks. We don't want that. We don't want that. So again, if we look into our cleanup menu here for DocXtools Companion, we have these curly to straight or straight to curly. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. You can get one or the other, and this is just a way to enforce that. Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I use this. If I get a contract from one of our vendors asking us, I always run it through Contract Companion. 9 times out of 10 or greater, they will always have forgotten to close a quote, or they're being inconsistent on quotes. And I can come here and just quickly make those final changes for them. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't understand the legal language, right? I understand styles and format. So I probably skip over most of that stuff. But what my eye does recognize, and probably other people like me's eyes recognize, is those when you miss a quote, or you're inconsistent, or the formatting's all over the place, because that they're not as trained in legal language. So
and again, those things are just like, those are annoying things that like then you fixate on that stuff, and now you're not focused on the content that you should be reading. So again, as a distraction, we want to eliminate distractions. We want to just eradicate that from the document. These are legal, professional documents. They should look that way. They should act the part. So we got to do our job to get those documents in that state. All right, coming in at number 8, consistent spacing. We can talk all day long about the 2 space versus 1 space after a sentence, or it is an age-old debate. And because of that, some people have preferences. So you type with 2 spaces, I type with 1 space. We've worked on a document together. Now we have this inconsistency. We don't want it. I guess the general theme here, we should just say, like, just consistency matters.
Consistency matters.
That's right. And so this is just a quick fix for doing that. People do this all the time. You know, like if you've ever tried to run a find and replace in Word, though, to like do this, it's not going to work. Unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to leave your document in a worse state than before. So trust this algorithm. It's built in. It's going to make all your spaces consistent. Now, it's not saying it should be 2 spaces or it should be 1 space. It's what it's saying is be consistent. So if the majority of the document is 2 spaces, just do 2 spaces. If the majority of the document is 1 space, make it 1 space. It's that easy. That simple. We don't want to pass judgment here. We won't get into our personal beliefs on what it should be. We will leave it at that. So if you are truly curious, follow up with Matt and I, and we'll let you in on where we fall on that spectrum of 1 or 2 spaces. I know you just want to
whole nother topic for another day.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time. Number 7 in our top 10 feature, PDF conversion cleanup. We know this is a big one. So when you've got a PDF document in Word, let's be honest. Word now, Microsoft gives you the ability to open a PDF in Word and make it a Word document. And it does a bad job of converting that content.
Yeah, I like this one. There's so much cool stuff that the PDF cleanup does that people probably just aren't aware of. We have the specifics on our customer center about what this whole cleanup entails, but obviously a PDF is a flat file. It doesn't understand story ranges. So there's no such thing as a header story in a PDF. Mm-hmm. And one of the common things you'll see is the header content getting dumped into the body of the file. So one of many things we do is a perfect example. We will detect that and automatically, imagine having to go page by page, find that and delete it. PDF cleanup will automatically find it, automatically remove it for you. That's just one of many, many cool things that mm-hmm. it's going to do as part of that PDF cleanup process.
And so again, the nice thing is I'm going to click this. I'm just going to run it to show people what it's doing. But again, the nice thing is that you can always just undo that if you accidentally clicked it and you said, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, it's executing 771 actions against this document. There's a lot of things. Imagine if you had to do all those things manually. Some of these things you might not even know to do. You might skip a few steps. This is really doing a lot of work behind the scenes to fix that document, to make it, put it in a cleaner state. Now, I would say, is this a perfectly finished final document? No. Is it 85, 90% better than where it was? Absolutely. So this is just going to expedite that time it takes. And look you can see we've removed all this unnecessary junk that kind of persists in the document.
Yep.
It happens when you do this. When you go from PDF to Word, it's 2 different systems. It's 2 different ways of interpreting that information. You're going to have some messes that you got to clean up. Why do it the manual way when you've got a handy feature right here that's going to do that for you? All right, if we look at number 6 on our list, I talk about automated fixing. This probably should be a little bit higher, but there's a lot of different things that go into this. So you mentioned before the evolution of DocXtools Companion. Prior to Q4 of last year, we just did things automatically. So you said it's just kind of a click and run, set it and forget it, and let it do its thing. And some users love that ability to do that. They don't need to know how the meal is prepared or, how the scenes. They just want the end result, right? You don't need to know how it's made, so you just want the end result. And that's what we do. You can install DocXtools Companion, and we call it guided. I call it unguided. I know some people call it classic mode. I don't know what the official. I call it guided or unguided. I don't know if we have a...
I'm a classic guy, so.
So classic mode means that you just run the button. It tells you that it's doing some things, and all of a sudden your document is fixed. That is a hugely powerful thing to do. And again, for some users, it works. For people like you and I know we're a little bit more curious. We need to see some stuff. So we'll get into this in a little bit here about some of the other features, but just understanding the difference during installation, you can have a an automated way, and that would be leaving the guided process unchecked, or you can check that guided mode, and we'll go into some more details about that in just a little bit. But again, that automated fixing for things like that, that's probably best for users who aren't too word savvy. They know that there are problems. We give them these buttons. You click it, it's going to fix it. We know it's going to fix it, and then you can move on and do everything else from there. All right, so if we continue on in our journey, coming in at number 5, TOC drag and drop. So this is something we just built at the end of Q2. I love where this is going, and I love how this is evolving. So going back now to what we talked about in a guided state. So let me open an example document and show exactly what I'm talking about here with some of these capabilities. I'm going to click on my table of contents button and let it do its thing. That was just a prompt about track changes in the document. So the difference that I just talked about, automated fixing versus guided fixing. When I click on this table of contents, the difference is that with guided enabled, we are opening this task pane, we are exposing you to more data, more information. If I had the classic mode enabled or engaged, I'd click this table of contents, it would just do its thing and then ask me, where do you want to stick this table of contents? So 2 different ways of getting to the end result. This guided way is just taking you through the process, giving you exposure to more information. The thing I love about this is that we detect, this active TOC, and we find there are, in fact, a couple of different tables of contents in the document, and we will navigate you to them. This is probably the wrong example document because I wanted to show the ability in this task pane, the ways that you can drag and drop things. So right now we've found styles that we think should be included in a TOC, and we're telling you that we think this should be part of level 1, but really you said, no, this should be part of level 2. So being able to just easily drag and drop to manipulate things in the document to create how you want it to look, I think that's a hugely powerful workflow. We are empowering these users to do things in a meaningful way to give them more control over that. And I love how we built this feature into the product. I think it's awesome. All right, so that is our table of contents, our drag and drop. I think we did a whole episode one time just around table of contents. Look back in our archive. You can find that. If you've got more questions, email Matt and myself. We'll be happy to chat with you in more detail about this stuff.
Yeah, that's the newest of new stuff
exactly, newest of new. Yeah. Coming in at number 4, utilize firm numbering schemes. This is huge. This is super important. That we give users the ability to reference their firm schemes. So this is an installation option. So when you are installing DocXtools Companion, you can specify a path and say, I want to read this path. And if you find any documents in there and any numbering schemes in those documents, when you are analyzing your active document on screen, and we see, okay, this is what document is on screen, we will look to this repository and we'll say, is there a numbering pattern in any one of these files that matches my document? If so, bring those styles into my active document and apply them to my content. This is a huge time saver to be able to do this. And it's a way for organizations to promote what they've already created so that you can easily reuse this in new documents going forward or fixing documents that are problematic. This is going to help in that workflow.
Yeah, I see. This is one of the things that was the sticking point for furthering adoption in some of our firms.
Yep.
This is in now. Not everybody knows it's there. You don't have to point to a DOTX. This doesn't have to be a template. Template is a loose term here for us. It can be a DOTX. It could be a DOTM if you wanted it to be. It could be a DOT. It could be a DOC. It could be a DOC. It could be any file type really. And you can have multiple files here within that single location you're pointing to. our systems will automatically look at everything in that repository and work out what is best from that collection to apply to the document. Obviously, yes, there's a slight impact. If you've got 100 templates in there and we got to look at 100 templates every time you analyze the document, there's a little bit of a time on that. Hopefully you've only got 2 or 3 or 4 at max. If you got more than that, call us, because we probably need to clean up your templates, numbering templates, but hopefully you've only got a couple in here. And it's a very, very quick process.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, so you have, again, this is the option. You have the option to set this and define this during install. If you don't do this, you don't have to do this. If you don't do that and you've got an active document on screen, there are things we will do. We will look to see, are there styles in that document, first and foremost, that are applicable? If they're in the document, we will apply them. If you don't have styles in that document and you're not stipulating that template path, we will still appropriately style the document for you, and we do the information ourselves. Now, some users don't like that. They don't like that the software is automatically doing that. But what we are trying to do is just maintain that fidelity of the document, get styles and numbering patterns in there appropriate to help you along the way. And then from there, you can do, you can do with that as you will. But this is just another option for users to just be a little bit more robust in how they want to structure their documents. There's a couple updates coming out around this, probably in the end of Q4 as well. So just stay tuned. A little sneak peek of some additional things that I've got cooked up in the works here that I want to again, just to add some more extensibility around this feature set. Coming in at number 3, assign a cross-reference. This seems pretty straightforward, but again, this goes back to that classic versus guided mode. So this is something that we did at the end of Q1, is to expose this ability to assign cross-references. It's not only is this engine powerful that it finds things and it finds mistakes or it finds inconsistencies or inaccuracies, but then it lets you take some action against it. And it's really just taking that manual work out of the user's hands and automating it. Is making it just that much faster so that you don't have to scroll through the document line by line looking for these things. The software is going to just expedite a lot of that work. Hugely powerful, huge time saver in terms of doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think this is also another area where, because we've got the guided capabilities, we can interoperate with some of the other features. So if, as an example, if you have no automated numbering in your document, you can't build cross-references without that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll warn you and say, hey, we don't see any numbering. Do you want us to first run numbering? So the guided cross-referencing is also helping guide some numbering step that you might need to take prior to running cross-references in the document. And again, the guided capabilities, if you're risk adverse and you just don't want to click any of the fixes, that's fine. There's still tons of value in just seeing what's wrong with your document, so that you are more educated and can, escalate it appropriately from there.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that this is completely interoperable with Words Track Change feature. So if you need an audit trail on the changes that are being made to the document, just enable track changes. You can make all these changes. You can send it over for a review then, so that someone else can then, either decide to accept or reject those changes. But it's fully operational, functional within Word to be able to do this type of work. And again, it's just, like you said, you don't have to necessarily make changes, but just being aware sometimes is knowing is half the battle, as G.I. Joe would say. All right, coming in at number 2, the numbering heat map. This is an awesome feature. So let's get an example document open, and I want to take a look here and see. Oh. Nope, going in the wrong folder here. All right, so when I run my numbers, you're not going to get access to this, again, unless you're installed in guided mode. But this heat map, and when you click on these different levels, we're going to navigate you in the document. And you can see all of the red. So what this is saying is that you've got styles applied. You've got a lot of, well, you don't got styles. You have numbering applied in the document, but it is not good numbering. all of this stuff is typed numbers. And man, if there's one thing, if you work in the legal industry, and there's one thing that should really bug you, it's typed numbers in a document. This would drive me nuts because this is all manual. So what happens now if I want to add a paragraph between section 8.1 and 8.2? Then I got to retype all those other numbers. That is mindless. That is crazy to have to expect to do something like that. Typed numbers is just, there is no place for it in legal documents. There's no room for it. And yet, because people don't necessarily know about styles, know about numbering, these things start to manifest in documents. I mean, it's kept a lot of different companies in business for a long time because we know the problem persists. This heat map, I love that though. This will tell you if your numbering is good or bad. It's going to show you like a preview of where you've got these different style levels applied. Very cool feature. Again, just being more transparent, like trying to surface more information to the user in that way. And you can say, you know, okay, you've got a lot of different problems in this document, a lot of different issues that are wrong, and you need to do something about that.
Yeah, and if like the hashes are showing where the numbering is applied in relative position to the document, so we can see level 1 is less applied. You get some up front and some towards the back third there. But really, if as a user, just look at it as a red light, green light. Red, bad, green, good. If you see red on any of those levels, you should be taking action to hit that fix button or moving it along. So also just look at it as a traffic light.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so obviously coming in at number 1 then is the fixes for this. So this is just an extension of the heat map, being able to fix those problems. Anyone who's worked on a legal document with numbering problems knows that numbering can be quite fickle. It can be difficult to work with. And so again, by building in fixes to say, hey, you've got all these type numbers. We want you to take these type numbers and make them automated. Click this button here and it's going to do that. Now that we can point to a repository of a firm numbering scheme, we will apply the most appropriate numbering scheme to the document as well. All of these things are just hugely advantageous to save you time and effort in correcting that document so you can get it back to your client faster. You can get it submitted to court faster. All of that time savings, that is important to the firm. And so to be able to expedite that, that's why this software, I believe, is super powerful and what it can do and why it's valuable to any user within an organization. So I think that's it. That is our top 10 features that Matt and Nick love regarding DocXtools Companion.
Not just that Matt and Nick love, hopefully that everybody hundreds of people tuned in right now love as well. I want to thank everybody for their time today. I would say next week is ILTA. If you're virtually attending, awesome. We've got a lot of cool stuff we'll be doing. Litera TV will be really focusing on commercial breaks during the ILTA breakout sessions, if you will. Monday's session, Nick and I will be Monday's Litera TV instance. We'll have Nick and I on it with a couple other folks. We're calling it Mobile Monday. So we'll be talking about what we're hearing in the industry around mobile needs, and as well as demonstrating some of the proof of concepts and stuff you'll be seeing from Litera that is more mobile focused. So we showed a little bit of that on some of our sprint reviews with the product owners, but even more breaking technology from Litera on Monday for those of you who will be tuned in. Up next is Ab and Vincent. Ab has got the greatest tile. I don't know if you've seen the new tiles from that marketing have put out there, but like sneak peek and top 10. I don't know who we pissed off in marketing, just like just slap something together. Ab's got his face there shining and with this blue mountainous background. Well, we know who the favorites are, I guess.
That's right.
With that, we thank everybody. Stay tuned for Ab and Vincent. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, all.
All right, bye.